let's go ahead and get started. Let's see, we've got a number of attendees, about 24 now. We've got obviously our panelists. Welcome, Neil. You joined, Victoria, Patrick, Ken, and Greg. Again, this is going to be a little different because this is on Zoom, but we will take questions in the chat function. So feel free to submit anything that you might have. Just from a background standpoint, this is our inaugural kickoff, right? So this is, it used to be Tech Talk, so it's now Perspectives Live. Same great content, again, just a different platform. We're even going to try to do some deeper dives on this. I think I hinted in one of my LinkedIn posts that if people were interested after this, that we would actually do kind of a deep dive 3-part series. And now that'll be separate from this Perspective Lives event, but want to give Ken and his team an opportunity to go a little deeper with anyone that might want to go deeper, particularly around core and emerging technologies. So of course, everyone knows I like to talk. I will promise to pass this over to our guests here in a second. So, but today we're going to be having a conversation with the CEO of Kenneth J. Soul and Associates. KJS is kind of the short for them. It's a firm with over 35 years of experience in delivering innovative technology solutions to the financial services industry. And now, proud to say, part of the Strategic Resource Management family, also known as SRM. And Ken has built a legacy, and his company's built a legacy as really a trusted banking technology consulting firm specializing in a bunch of different things. So core processing, conversions, migration support, compliance, contingency planning, and a bunch more with a results-oriented approach and a team of former banking executives. I think they're very unique, similar to SRM in this, that they only hire for their firm people who've already been in senior banking roles, and a lot of them technology focused. They're driven by innovation and success, and they've really helped out hundreds of financial institutions. So before I turn it over to Ken and Greg, just for a little bit of background, kind of personal background of what drives them, I'm gonna start with a quote from Oscar Wilde, and in this quote, and I like it. It fits well with my life. But the quote is, "Experience is simply giving a name to our mistakes." Like I said, that resonates with me. And one thing I want everyone to take away from this meeting is that I hope you rather leverage someone else's mistakes, experience, versus learning the hard way. So with that, let me turn it over to Ken and Greg for a little bit more on their personal backgrounds. And then we'll talk a little bit about the history, genesis, some of the solutions of KJS, maybe some success stories, pain points from a customer standpoint, and kind of what we're looking at from a going forward in the future. And again, if anyone has questions, just drop it into the chat function. So Ken, over to you.
Yeah, so now I can truly say I'm very experienced after hearing that definition. So you don't learn from your successes, you learn from your failures in many respects. So no, thank you so much for having us today. We're excited about all the opportunities in front of us, certainly the opportunities with SRM and where we can head from here, and the opportunities to work with a number of new clients that we haven't met over the years. So this is a great opportunity, and we thank you for that. So I'd like to let Greg say hello and provide a little bit of his background now.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. So, I've got well over 35 years of experience, not all of them mistakes, but had my share. And it's part of what I like about consulting is that you get to kind of help other people try not to make the same mistakes you did or that you've seen made along the way. So the last 27 years, I was the CIO or COO of banks between 5 billion and 47 billion in assets. Several of them were very entrepreneurial and growth oriented. So I've done a tremendous amount of acquisitions. My career outside of consulting kind of went with the last one was Talmer Bank and Trust. They were the fastest growing bank in the country, and they grew from 90 million in assets, one location, 30 employees, to 47 billion when I left, and they then went on to merge with Huntington Bank. So somewhere along that line, I was the COO. I was helping them, bring 4 failed banks on board, and we did some merger of equals. That's where I met Ken. Is we were in the midst of that firefight, and we were drowning in work and short on resources. And so I found Ken through I think a mutual connection, and I said, Ken, I need help. I need resources that are, back office operational experts, and that kind of we did 2 merger of equals after that, and Ken and his team were along on every one of them and helping us be successful. So 4.5 years ago, I decided to exit that, and at that time it just seemed natural. Ken and I were friends, and we decided that it made sense for me to join and become part of his team.
It's interesting what you guys do, and you guys will talk about it, but from a technology standpoint and integration standpoint, these in cores, these are things that companies don't do certainly on a daily basis, or often even on a yearly basis, right? I certainly hope not. But maybe do once a decade or something along those lines. As a company, you guys do that every single day, and there's a similarity with SRM in that, what a lot of people know our firm for, though we're quite a bit broader, is third-party vendor contract negotiations. And that's a similar situation where most people aren't doing those renegotiations on a daily basis. Well, yet we are, and that experience really translates into a much smoother outcome, a much more favorable outcome, whether it's negotiating a contract or whether it's implementing a core platform. I do want to give and recognize Patrick Goodwin, since Patrick's the president of our company, and I'll put him on the spot since he didn't know he was going to speak, but he is wearing his jacket, just to see if Patrick wanted to say a few words about the merger and why we thought this was such a good fit, welcoming you guys to the SR family. But I already alluded to some of that, but I'll give Patrick a chance to say a few words.
Thanks, Larry, for putting me on the spot. I expected it. That's why I put my coat on, turned my camera on. But no, we welcomed the KJS team little over 6 months ago, and we have branded them Core and Digital Integration. And so we saw it as an opportunity to complete the circle and to be a full service advisory firm. We've always been in advisory services. We've always done core and digital contract negotiation, but whenever it got down into the details of that conversion, we didn't have that expertise. We're expert contract negotiators. We have managed, our staff has managed core systems, but the conversion side we didn't have. So we partnered with KJS for a period of time and had them basically white labeling their services. And then we realized that this is a big enough opportunity and where it could create a strength for SRM in the market to have that complete service of being able not only to select the vendor, but whenever there is the situations, which we see it now more than we have ever seen it, just with our clients and the financial institutions realizing that their incumbent might not be the best solution. So having the KJS technical expertise available in that experience to make a conversion go seamless, we thought was a great opportunity. So that's where what led us to today. And so we are really excited about bringing this to market as one unit and one consolidated team going forward. So Ken and Greg, I'll turn it over to you guys to take it from here.
It
Yeah,
actually,
and so often, Patrick, just, to expand on the point that you were just making, so often we see in the industry where a financial institution will bring in a firm to help them through the course selection process and even the contract negotiation. But when it comes time for implementation, they have to go find somebody else to do that. And what happens, all that knowledge that's been obtained over the past 6 to 9 months or even a year walks out the door, and it's a matter of starting all over again. And I think what we bring to the table now at SRM is what I call cradle to grave solution, start to finish. Knowledge doesn't have to leave the building anymore, and we can take it right through from inception to fruition, and leverage everything along the way.
and that's a great point. I mean, I didn't do a lot of core negotiations over my tenure at SRM, but I did a few of them. And it always made me kind of aghast to look at where we negotiated into contracts some sort of product features, only to find out, 3 years later, those product features weren't being used. And they weren't aware of it, or it didn't get implemented the right way. But with all that said, we do have a poll. So I'm going to launch this poll here. So we got, I think we actually have 2 polls. So hopefully everyone is seeing the polls. Would love people to enter their response there. And Victoria, maybe you can help me, since it's the first time I've done a poll on there we go. So it's working on Zoom. So the question is, what is the biggest challenge your institution faces in adopting new technologies? So we have regulatory compliance hurdles, budget constraints, integrating with legacy systems, and lack of internal expertise. Oh, and then we actually, the second question below, we'll get to that in a second. All right, we'll give everyone another couple more seconds to get their answers in.
Yeah, the answer is E, all of the above, actually.
Yeah, Ken, actually, before we move to the next poll, do you want to talk a little bit about, does that surprise you any? I was actually a little surprised by budget constraints, but looks like integration with legacy systems.
I think, at the outset, once you've decided to move in that direction, you actually, one of the things that we like to see the financial institutions do is set their priorities. What is the most important factor to them? Is it the budget? Is it operational challenges? And kind of queue those up and prioritize those, and maybe even weight them, from a importance perspective, and then the consultant can do a better job of performing and accomplishing the evaluation based on the financial institution. Sometimes budget constraints are tough, and you need to move forward anyway. You don't always have that luxury, so of selecting the best time to move. So those are things that we like to, but certainly, we want, the institution's perspective and the attendees' perspectives on these, and to see what their thoughts are.
Yeah, I think it's a little interesting that some of the challenges around integration with the industry, focusing so much on APIs and open banking, that all of that is coming. So there's the challenge, I think, is all of these systems truly working together to get to an outcome that you're looking for. And a lot of that is the view of, we just got to get through an implementation or a conversion, and not realizing that that's really just the start. Getting to that one point means now you've got a new platform, but you've got to leverage it. And so we see so many times we help people get through the first phase, but the second phase is all of the cleanup, all of the day 2 projects, all of the using the systems, to their fullest. that takes a lot more time than just to the conversion date.
Yeah, that's insightful. We did have a question from Gretchen Bartholomew. Gretchen, did you want to go ahead and ask your question? You might have to just unmute yourself. She raised her hand. All right, Gretchen, you should have the ability to speak. And if
Can you
not,
hear me now?
Yes.
then there we go.
So can you provide just from a standard time frame of the due diligence of sourcing, and then of course that whole process with core integration with legacy systems? I wanted to actually pick more than one of those answers, one being disruption from a membership perspective, and the other for us primarily is really responsiveness of the core. The aftermath of that conversion is great, going through the process and getting yourself stood up, but it's the responsiveness of that vendor, that core, long term, and that's a big concern for us. Dependability and just quick responsive.
Yeah, I'll respond initially, and then Greg, you can expand upon my statements. But I think what we're seeing more and more in the industry. First off, let me back up a little bit. There's no such thing as a painless conversion. They're all disruptive to the organization, but that disruption can be minimized if you plan properly, and if you have a clear vision of your business objectives. One of the things that's important is to weigh the capabilities of any core system selected with your business objectives. If you have clear vision on your business objectives, then you should know what you want your core to do. That helps in the selection process. Disruption can be held to a minimum. Again, you're going to hear a recurring theme here. If you plan properly, one of the things we're talking about, mistakes, experiences a few minutes ago, lightheartedly, albeit, it's important that to bring in professionals that as Larry was saying earlier, do this every day. And over the years, over 35, almost 36 years of doing core conversions, we've developed processes, we've developed templates, we've developed control mechanisms, tracking mechanisms, sound, processes to get you through the conversion with minimal disruption and, minimal problems at the end. We've always had a saying that internally in our organization that, the biggest problem you're going to have with it, I'll use the SRM conversion these days, is boredom. And that's where you want to be, right? I think, sound planning and then, having time-proven processes in place and controls will help you get through that disruptive phase. And certainly at go live, that's not the end of your conversion. That's really the beginning, because that's when, again, you start to utilize the capabilities of your new platform, make sure that it's performing properly, and that you're tracking that for a while, and continue the education process on the platform's capabilities, so that you just don't use it, at a level that you started with on day one, but over the first, especially the first couple of years, that you're maturing your employees' knowledge of the new platform and how to use it so that you can be efficient.
And there's one other question we had, in Gretchen, I think, was even alluding to this in the poll. So I scrolled up. There was the second question, which was, when considering a core system upgrade or migration, what is your top concern? So that vendor support and expertise, long-term scalability, and then potential for downtime or disruptions. all of those make a lot of sense to me. And I guess the cost of implementation at that point, you've already spent the money, so you're probably focused on other things.
I think to jump on to Gretchen's question, I think one of the challenge we as an industry have is that these vendors, you're beholden to these vendors in a lot of ways, and that's what everybody struggles with, because their responsiveness, the job that they do, even the conversion calendar, the timelines are getting extended, so you can't meet your strategic goals because you're waiting 12 or 18 months for them to assist you. What we always say is that the vendors, they are, they're good at conversions from a data perspective, but there's so much more to conversions than just getting the data. That's usually the easiest because it's been done so many times. And so all of the other things and managing those vendors, holding them accountable during the conversion process to make sure you are getting the outcomes that you desired. And that's, where our expertise can come in. We really can drive that and not let them get away with, kind of allowing just the minimum to happen. That's not what you're trying to get out of your conversions.
Yeah. One of the other aspects that I think is so important and so overlooked are all of the operational considerations, right? We've got credit unions now that are looking to get into business banking. And credit unions, inherently have been online real-time platforms, running on platforms designed for the thrift industry or savings industry. And all of a sudden, the business paradigm is completely foreign to them, completely different. They never heard of, expressions like proof of deposit and account analysis and some of those things. So one of the things that we focus on as we're taking you through the conversion is what your present operating model looks like and what your target operating model is going to be and how much of an impact it's going to have on your processes and procedures and right down the line. So that's just another aspect of it that's pretty important.
And we certainly that was great background, both Ken and Greg, you provided. I want to get back to a little bit on the genesis and history of KJS. Can you share the story behind your founding of it? What inspired you to start the company, and what were maybe some turning points in your company's long 35-year history?
Yeah, so just I'm going way back now. I've been doing this quite a while, but started out as an engineering student in college, and that didn't work out too well for me. And then a friend of mine said, I work in a bank with computers, and how about, I get you in there and you can work with me. And I thought, my God, what do I know about computers? So, and I'm going back, quite a number of years, back literally to the late 60s, when really computers were nothing more than tabulating equipment and unit record equipment. But I did take the position with him and embarked on a career that I spent 18 years in banks. Probably a couple of years off of military service, but for the most part, 18, 19 years in banks, and then headed off after working for a number of financial institutions to the private sector a little bit, a software development company in New England. And, that after that ended, I wasn't sure what to do. So someone told me a long time ago, if you need some help or you want to get some work or something, call your friends, at least they'll be polite. So that's what I started doing and picked up a couple of jobs. And we were off and running. I was an independent consultant, and just loved what I was doing. I was really doing the same thing I did for the financial institutions all those years. But I've always loved a challenge. I've always loved new opportunities. And And so I was very excited to hang my own shingle. And actually, KJS started in New England, southern New England, and then relocated to New York a few years hence. And we've been at it now for 30, 35, 36 years. So it's just been great.
Wow. And I mean, I obviously know some of your solutions. What are the solutions specifically that KJS offers to their clients?
So, one of the ways that we thought about, longevity and sustaining longevity was not to focus, a conscious decision not to focus on any single product, any single service, and pigeonhole ourselves. So our services range from what we refer to as the boardroom, all the way to the back room, whether it be strategic, working with boards of directors and helping them through all their compliance issues and developing board programs and things of that nature, board awareness programs, updating them on their responsibilities as directors to protect the assets of the corporation, things of that nature, all the way down to nuts and bolts computer room, running the computers. I never wanted to specialize. Patrick's heard me say this, kiddingly and facetiously, but I tell people I'm a member of the NRA. Never refuse anything when it comes to work, and that has sustained us over the years. And of course, all the different challenges that financial institutions have faced over the years. Everything from, the S&L crisis in the late 80s, we were immersed in doing conversions at that point in time, to obviously Y2K, the pandemic, all these challenges that were posed to financial institutions. We jumped right on that wave and assisted them in meeting those challenges. And most recently, of course, the pandemic, not many institutions had VPN networks, and they were all clamoring, how do we set this up? How do we control this? What are the policies and procedures we need to implement? So we've continued to just help our clients in almost any arena that cropped up.
So over that period, you mentioned computers. Obviously, technology has changed very significantly. What kind of trends have you seen in technology over those 35 years? How do your services help financial institutions stay ahead? Obviously, there's a big move towards, maybe you can talk a little bit about the technology trend.
So, over my literally close to 50-year career in technology, I've seen great changes. Here in the former KJS offices, now the SRM offices, I've got some artifacts set up, from the Abacus, which was really the first computer, through tabulating machines and the big old metal ones, with the big handle, and then I have a model of the first what was referred to as the first portable computer, which was a compact 2, which probably weighed about 40 pounds to lug that thing around. And so I've seen all of these changes, and now, with the technology landscape, obviously the challenges are even greater. We've got greater security issues. We've got open architecture. We've got, just payments industry that's exploding, which to me is at the forefront right now for financial institutions, especially those with legacy systems that can't post online real time. So it's just an ever evolving landscape. And so you've got the technology that's evolving, you've got the data that's evolving, and cloud computing that's coming in strong waves right now, security challenges. So it never ends. And, we're, almost excited and almost frightened to see what's coming down the line in the future, with artificial intelligence and ChatGPT and everything else that's going to come into play. So the challenge is keeping up with it all, both sides of it.
Now we have quantum computing. I have to ask, one of those artifacts on your desk wouldn't happen to be a Dalton adding machine, would it?
It would.
I bet you most people don't know what a Dalton is, but that's a great example of how far and how fast technology has evolved.
And that's the interesting thing, is that in my career, I've seen an awful lot. I literally started in this industry on plug boards. I don't know if you remember what a plug board was. It was the program and wires. And then the first computer I worked on had 4K, not 4 meg, not 4 gig, 4K of core storage in it. So, we're light years ahead in a single career. So,
AI is one that our firm is getting a lot of questions and interest around. Connor Heaton's our expert and our lead for that practice area. But again, technology evolves so quickly. It's really inherent on all of us to kind of keep up with it, because if we don't, our competitors that may be keeping up with it could outrace us, and that's certainly a concern. Maybe Greg, I can maybe direct this to you and or Ken. Maybe you can share a success story where KJS made a significant impact for a client. I know you guys have a ton of those, but is there a favorite one? And then maybe a follow-up to that, like kind of what do you do to help your clients achieve their goals?
yeah, so
I'll let Ken go first.
okay. So in terms of some, recent successes, first off, with regard to recent successes, the types of engagements that I love, the ones that challenge me the most are the ones that people tell me we can't do, and that we overcome and succeed. And we've had a couple of those in recent years. In fact, just this past year, we had one of the largest credit unions in the country that was facing a conversion, and they needed to get their credit cards converted. And the vendors couldn't do it for them. And they only had a very limited time to get this mission accomplished. And so they reached out to SRM, and SRM turned around to us and they said, do you think you can do this? And we went in and we got their credit cards all converted and implemented within the appropriate time frame to allow them to move forward with the rest of their business plans. Otherwise, they would have been delayed at least for a year. So, those are the types of successes that we enjoy. And we also had a bank last year, about a year ago, $5.5 billion in California. In January, we were approached and they wanted to convert that bank to Fiserv's DNA platform in 7 months by July. And they were coming off a system that was relatively unknown, homegrown, called FPS Gold, not a widely used or recognized platform. And Fiserv, pretty much didn't want to tackle this. And they looked at us and said, is this something you can accomplish? And I said, yeah, we'll get it done. And we did that in spite of everybody's disbelief that it could be done. So those are a couple of great, those are the successes that are the sweetest for us.
Yeah, I'd add, we do have great success in helping our clients get through some, challenging times. One that stands out to me is we were a $10 billion bank. We were very integrated into their project management office to do a core conversion, and then they had several acquisitions lined up that one of them they had already executed on, and so that was all going well. And one of the challenges they had was the leader of that entire effort passed away suddenly. And that was impactful to us. We were, worked with this team for over a year already, and losing them, that would normally set a project sideways. But because we were there, because we were integrated into their team, we were able to pick up that slack and keep them on target. We didn't move the conversion date. It was very difficult for everybody, but we were there with them. And, I think that just says something about the type of company that we are, that when we leave someplace like that, they hug us. When we see them next time, they hug us because we're part of their team.
That's awesome. I think, people think about the bad times, the times things go sideways, not all the times that they're successes, but when things go sideways, it can really go sideways. And without mentioning the credit union, I know last year we at least saw one large credit union that had some enforcement actions taken by the CFPB and the NCUA, and it was a result of a bad conversion, right? This conversion of an online mobile banking platforms not ended up costing that credit union reputation, but they had to refund fees and cost to the consumer. So it's things aren't to be taken. These are big efforts and really high risks to get it right.
And just so you know, we weren't the one consultant that advised them. We should have been there.
Yeah, I knew that when I mentioned that, and I'm still not calling out the name though. So what, Ken and Greg, what are some of the common pain points you see among your clients, and how do you guys address them?
Greg, you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. There's so many different pain points, in today's environment. You touched on it earlier, just the pace of change in technology and regulation. We, as Ken mentioned, we don't specialize in anything, but just being out there working the way we do, we are very good at helping you navigate all of these large decisions and changes, and not just from making the decision strategically. We love being in that part, but really driving it through down into execution and making sure that it gets implemented, fully. The resources are always a challenge when you're going through big changes, and so we assist with that in a big way. The knowledge, because we have a broader view of various FIs and how they operate, and looking at other ways that you can do things instead of just rebuilding the old core that you had and trying to operate it that same way. We've got lots of skill sets in the back office, whether it's, the roles that we've held are CTO, CIO, Director of Operations, Loans, Deposits. Those skill sets are not easy to find in the consulting world. They're fairly niche. And so by us having that experience, actually having run those operations in FIs, we understand the challenges that the clients are going through. We tend to help them through management of vendors. These vendors are not easy to navigate and manage through, but we interact with a lot of them. We know a lot of them. We know where their strengths and weaknesses are, and so we assist there. And then the biggest thing is the change management. Technology, a lot of people are afraid of change. Most of your team in a bank is afraid to go through change. They're worried about what it's going to do to them, and they aren't overly incentivized to change. So we help manage them through that, ease that pain, and get them through it.
So you mentioned niche. I mean, as we know, every credit union, every community bank is unique. They've got their own customer and member segments. They've got their geographic reach. How do you address that kind of niche? I mean, every client is different, right? How do you approach that?
Absolutely. And that's where we start by getting to know the client. We really spend a lot of time listening to them, understanding what their goals and objectives are. And then we don't have a cookie cutter approach to it. So, we're part of their team. And so we approach it that way. We really break it down and make sure that we're driving in the direction that fits their organization.
Yeah, I think it's important to note that we bring a tactical twist to what we do. We're very hands-on, roll up your sleeves, and if we have to, we'll develop the solution for you. Not every platform solves every problem. And we've run across numbers of institutions that want to conduct business in a different way. And if you've got a business challenge, we'll help you overcome it, even if we have to build a solution. And we've done that in numerous occasions where we've built an interface or we've built a processing platform to allow that institution to run its organization. Again, I've seen over the years, banks that wanted to use gold as collateral and literally, talking about installing scales at the teller window and things of that nature. You get the requests but the secret is to be able to adapt to what the institution wants to do in its business plan, right? Help them meet their business objectives first through the use of technology. And that's just another whole discussion we can go on for hours, and is having the business plan coupled with the technology plan and making sure that the technology is supporting the business, not the other way around.
That's amazing. So you must have developers on staff to be able to do that custom code when you need to build something, right?
Exactly. And that's what we just did in the two cases I just cited, with a credit card conversion for the large credit union. We developed the programs, the conversion programs. Same thing for the bank in California that had to go to DNA from FPS Gold. We had to develop the conversion programs and the data sets. And so, yeah, we're a roll up your sleeves, hands on. Again, I think what we bring to SRM has all of the business strategies and the contract expertise and the negotiating expertise and the system selection expertise. And then it's a handoff to us where we come in and we just implement away, build interfaces, convert data, and really complete the picture.
Well, you read my mind, because I was going to ask you about how the acquisition by SRM might enhance your ability to address some of those customer client pain points. So for sure, you just explain that. Kind of looking to the future, what do you see as the largest or biggest opportunities for financial institutions in the next 5 to 10 years? I know I've got thoughts on that, but I'd love to hear yours.
Yeah, I think, the payments industry is coming at us like a tsunami right now. And I think that's going to be a huge challenge, is to adapt and to be able to process and establish the controls. Cloud computing is really gaining some momentum now, and it's been talked about a lot longer than it's been accepted. Now it's being accepted. The FDIC and the regulators are not as adverse to having applications in the cloud, but even at that, securitizing them properly and interfacing properly, but it just opens up a whole new world and the term they use is, sidecar technology, right? You can have numerous different processing platforms integrated and feeding one another. I think the core still has its place, but I think the specialized processing now can be, moved away from the core. So it's all of these new paradigms, and I hate to say it, but we've got changes in the business landscape as well. We've got digital currencies that are really, coming at us very quickly. And how do we handle those? And who's going to control this? And how do we custodize those things and things of that nature? So we've got an awful lot going on. This is an exciting time in many respects. It's also a challenging time. And I think, from a business perspective, we're seeing an increase in demands and requests. I won't say demands, but requests for support now. We see credit unions merging with banks. When have we talked about that before? And again, two different, business models needing to be put together. So we recently helped one of the nation's largest credit unions get into business banking. We implemented account analysis for them, which is a very business savvy application, very strong application, and put that live for them. So these are the challenges we're seeing, things that are unprecedented.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned digital currencies. I mean, I think stable coins and tokenized deposits are going to be
Yeah, absolutely.
Fusions are going to have to figure out. I mean, we talk about cloud technology, the next technology on top of that, likely to be blockchain and kind of shared cores. Now that might be 20, 30 years from now, but we are moving as an industry, and it's great to have folks like yourselves that are constantly on top of that.
Yeah, it's exciting, and it's been exciting. That's what I love about this business. I really do. I really love, what I've been blessed to be able to do for a living. And
So what this is a good question for both you and Greg. What are your goals under the new SRM umbrella? I mean, I know personally, like, integration of two companies is always a big focus, right? But it goes beyond that. Like it's that 2 + 2 = 5, right? How do you get those synergies drive, more than the combination of the two? What are your goals for under kind of SRM?
So I have to, I'll answer this question on two levels. One is a personal perspective, a very personal perspective. I'm coming to the end of my career. I've been at this literally for over 50 years. I tell people now I started in this business when I was 3, but they can do the math, so they know. I needed to find a home for my organization. And we did, we were really just in the initial stages of exploring acquisitions when we got into serious conversations with SRM. But that's not to say we didn't explore other avenues and other opportunities. But the most important thing for me personally was to have my organization, my life's work left in good custody, and with people that I believe in, and that will care for the employees and care for our legacy, and just feeling comfortable to be able to go right off into the sunset and know that I've done the right thing for the organization. From a business perspective, I think the word synergies doesn't really do it justice. I mean, we just fit together perfectly. And then, the third aspect of it is values. SRM has the exact same business values that we've adhered to throughout the years. I mean, honest folks, hardworking folks, caring folks. And when I say all those words and I use those adjectives, it's not just for the employees, it's for the clients as well, for the financial institutions. They care about the quality of service. They care about, every aspect of the relationship with the client. And it's borne out in the sense that some of their client relationships are long term, and so are ours. And that's probably one of the things I'm most proud of, is that we've got, clients that come back to us year after year, or maybe not even every year, but 3 years from now, they'll call us up again and say, hey, we need you again. So that's the legacy I want to leave.
And that's phenomenal. It reminds me of something. I was walking with my daughter the other day, and she was complaining about some of the she'd worked with at the donut shop. And I said, oh, I'm lucky. I like everyone I work with. And she said, how is that, Dad? You work with a lot of people, right? I'm like, yeah, like I mean, our company is now like 120 combined. I said, I probably know 60 of them. I said, honestly, I cannot think of a single person I don't like. And not only can I not think of a person I don't like, I couldn't even rank them to like, who do I like more than else? And I think that is so unique. And I'm not just saying that because I work at SRM. I mean, that's really a very unique thing. And I think it speaks to the type of people that we hire. They're all professional. They've all been there in their career. They know what not. And we all work really well together. Our management team, who does a really good job of hiring. Patrick's got a process and Brad's got a process they can certainly talk about. And I believe in that process. And, it turns into client relationships, right? Because if you're happy as an employee and you like the people you work with, you want to do good work, you do good work for your clients are happy, it just comes back around full circle. And it's really important. So I feel blessed to be here. I'm glad, Ken, that you and the team have joined SRM. I think we are going to do some amazing things in the future. I didn't want this to come off sounding like a sales pitch, but like this was such a big thing for our company's history to acquire a firm is well known and is just well thought of as you guys were. I wanted to give our inaugural kind of SRM Perspectives Live this the forum.
No, appreciate that. I appreciate it a whole lot. And just to close out the thought, there's so much that we have in front of us to accomplish from a business perspective now. And I think, we're seeing it even already. I mean, we just closed the deal in this past July. And yeah, there was a couple of months of integration challenges and work that to be done, but we're coming out of that now, and we're now really getting back down to business at hand, right? And talking to clients and creating. I'm going to give people a preview, but kind of a sneak preview. But we've got a new service that we're developing right now called Core Map, where we're going to offer the opportunity for institutions to allow us to go in and look under the covers of their incumbent processing system and see how they can better utilize that processing system. Because one of the things I've learned over the years, over and over again, is these financial institutions are only using 30-40% of the system's capabilities. And this program we're developing is going to allow us to opine on the future capabilities of that system and how long it can stay in place, and also increase efficiencies by using it properly and taking advantage of the advanced functions that most organizations don't really get involved in. They go through conversion. They resolve the issues at hand in the next 90 days, and then they forget about it. They let it run. And it has to be a constant process of education and advancement with the platform to use it, in its entirety. So that's what Core Map's going to do. You'll see more coming out of SRM about that in the near future.
That's awesome. Well, we're coming up on the hour. I want to give 5 minutes to see if there's any questions from the audience. I also want to ask, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you if they're interested? I think we promised everyone we'd do a deep dive on, I think it was around, from a core standpoint, I think we talked about core selection, core conversion implementation, and integration of the technology stack. So we'll do that at some point. If people are interested in that, we'll make that opportunity available to them. if they're interested in reaching out to KJS, SRM, I'm dropping in the chat, Ken, your email, Patrick's, but obviously we've got a website, people free to reach out, but we don't have anyone on this call. Questions from the group? Just throw it in the chat if anyone has a question.
I'd like to shout out to Gretchen. I know I haven't, I think I went to lunch with her first week at Kimba. So hopefully the last probably 10 years, I'm thinking it's been a good relationship. So
Yeah, Gretchen and I have had a lot of good conversations still. So she's a good person, as are a lot of people on this call. Well, I want to thank everyone again for our inaugural SRM Perspectives Live. Really appreciate it. Looking for great things for 2025 and into the future. And, if there are certain topics that you as a group are interested in, definitely reach out to us and let us know. I'm always looking for new ideas for these Perspectives Live. So with that, we will, by the way, we will send out a copy of this meeting. So we will record it. We'll clean it up and edit it a little bit and send it out to everyone. Feel free to share it with friends and family, colleagues. And I truly appreciate everyone joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, Patrick and Larry. Much appreciated.
thanks, Ken and Greg.
All right, everyone have a nice evening. Take care.
Well.